It's gonna be breezy.
Over there?
I hear you. I've had that.
Hold on slowly.
Porto la valigia?
Sì. Andrew, do you want me to take a picture?
Well, even, I mean, it's such a, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it's still protected.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Tzatziki, Zucchini Croquettes, pork cooked in wine and shrimp, souffle, which is an Ikarian vegetable dish. And I think that's it.
We're going to be gathered around here because there's quite a few of us, and inside the kitchen it's too hot with so many people. I don't know about you, but I think it's very hot these last days. And what we're going to be doing today is normal Ikarian food, the way we cook here, the way we eat here. And what I'm trying to do is to make it foods that are easy, that aren't not like a moussaka that's so many steps and takes a long time, but that are tasty, healthy, easy, seasonal, and that you can substitute. If you don't find exactly what we use, you can substitute what you have at home available to you. We're very much into seasonal, obviously locally grown, simple foods. We believe that it's not just a matter of satisfying your stomach, but also satisfying your soul kind of a thing. Because when you have a food that satisfies you in this way, you feel completely full in every sense. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, because some people think I'm a little bit strange. But traditionally speaking, but you see, at the same time, our foods aren't so simple because we're fortunate enough all the year long we have different herbs and spices available to us. So we don't need to use a lot of different things like they do in other places to give food a flavor. Our food has the flavor. But even at home, you can use spices, you can get the herbs, you can grow the herbs. You have this available to you. So first of all, what we're going to do, we're going to start out with tzatziki. Tzatziki is so simple to make. It lasts, I don't really know how long it keeps in the fridge because when I make it for my home in the wintertime, in 5 days it's gone no matter how much I make. It's good on bread, it's fantastic as a side dish with meat, and it's healthy. Cucumbers, garlic, vinegar and oil, and yogurt. What more do you need? If you would be good enough to grate the cucumbers in here with this, but be careful, these are sharp. Yes, please. And the peels go here.
The peels?
It's certain times of the year, I think these skins seem a little bit thick. They're from the garden. I mean, we would eat these skins if I make a salad. But right now, these ones are pretty thick skins. I'm afraid they're gonna be a little bit tough. But if you have them from the garden and they're fairly nice and thin, grate them in your tzatziki. There we go. I'm gonna cut this edge off.
Okay. So the water is drained.
Okay, we're fine. We're fine. tzatziki, I don't know if you understood this or not, but after you grate the tzatziki, we always do the yogurt. Did she explain to you the carrot?
No.
We put a carrot, that's a matter of choice, okay? But we like the color, the texture, and then just a little bit of sweetness it gives. A lot of people like fennel. That's again personal choice. I can't do it here. At the restaurant I can't do it because there's too many people that don't eat fennel. But a little bit of fennel actually goes very nice with the yogurt. It goes really nice in the tzatziki.
Grate the fennel?
Okay. After you've done all that, you salt it and you let it strain for a while. Cucumbers make a lot of juice, all right? You like your cucumbers, you can drink the juice. The juice is great. The juice that comes out, especially if it's from your own garden, the juice is fantastic. So nothing's going to waste. Bobby's bringing out the giant beans. This one I do not have written down. I've never sat down because we do everything by eye. I have never actually sat down to see how much of each thing we put into it. So this one you have to follow, okay? The giant beans are easy to cook. You can get the canned beans, I know. You can get the beans that are in water pre-cooked for you and all this. But I'm sorry, it's not the same. And if you buy a bag of dried beans, you can soak them overnight.
Okay.
You can do it on a weekend. You can stick it in the freezer afterwards, anything you want. But you soak it overnight or for at least 5 hours. You bring it, you cover it, you put it in a pot, cover it with water, bring it to a boil. As soon as it comes to a boil, you change the water. You dump it out and you give it a little bit of rinse. And you'll see all that foam that comes up. And that foam is the scum. That's a lot of the gassiness in it, all right? Then you put it back in the pot, cover it with water again, and let it cook. Don't add anything to it, just let it cook. Bopi's going to bring the beans out now, and I want everybody to see how well cooked they are. You're going to cut this in half. Cut this in half, then cut it in half again, so it's, I don't know how you say it, so it's 4 pieces.
Yeah.
Okay?
Like long?
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Zucchini we get doesn't look like this.
Ja, om det er halve eller kvarte, det tror jeg ikke. Altså, og nu kan jeg lige se i forhold til budgetterne. Det skulle nok være sådan her. Så salter hun mor. Halvanden teskefuld. Anything else to chop?
What's that?
Okay.
Pepper.
Okay. Så lad mig det stå. Altså den er sådan lidt mere slatten i det.
Ja.
Ja, de der de er sådan meget, altså det smager også godt, men jeg kan bedre lide den anden, den har sådan meget sød.
Vi har også en med mørke blanke blade. Den er meget, det er næste peber, men det er faktisk.
I don't know, it's celery?
No, celery.
Yeah, chocolate. It smells good.
We'll test
Men-
it on the kids.
Persille? Det var også det, vi havde den aften. Is that salt? Skal jeg lige tage et billede, så kan vi lige sådan rette, hun laver, og billedet af det, hun laver derovre? Så vi lige kan se, hvad der er i.
If you don't have, one thing I want to tell you, if you don't have fresh tomatoes at home, because we only use them when they're tomatoes from here. If you don't have fresh tomatoes, use chopped tomatoes, but don't use tomatoes with seasonings, with sugar. Just make sure they're just chopped tomatoes. You know what I'm saying?
You mean like a can?
You can use a can, but what I don't like is when they have flavoring in them.
Right. But like
And-
the plum tomatoes,
Yes,
like
exactly,
an Italian style tomatoes.
because those are pretty clean from my understanding.
That's funny. We won't use tomatoes unless they're from here. I love that.
I won't. No, well, it's just like when you're at home. You have locally grown tomatoes in the summer
We do for a short period of
for a
time.
short period of time, but the taste is completely different, isn't it? And to me, that's the same. If I buy tomatoes from a store, unless they're local and you have an idea of the ripeness and the quality, to me they don't have much flavor.
So you don't make a separate tomato sauce. You just put the
No.
tomato
Yes.
in, and it makes its own.
And it makes its own sauce. Now, hold on, because sometimes we use a little bit of tomato paste, depending on the tomatoes. Tavares poltopano. Okay.
Tager du et billede
Our
med
tomatoes
tomaterne
are,
også,
the
så?
tomatoes
Ja, så
are
vi kan huske,
juicy,
hvad der er i.
so we're not going to put any tomato sauce,
Just
nothing. Just oil. And you're getting a little bit of water. When we make our dishes, because we have all of these things available here, you know what I'm saying? So we like to use our herbs.
Of course.
And we like to spice up our dishes. But we don't spice them up in the sense of being hot. We spice them up in the sense of flavor and texture. First of all, in bean dishes, we use a lot of mint. And this may be one of the reasons that we don't have a lot of stomach issues with beans, because we do eat a lot of beans. And I've had nutritionists ask me this, if we have people with problems. As far as I know, no. Now, one bean might not sit well with you, that's a different thing, but I'm talking about like a problem with it. And their thinking was, one of the reasons may be because we rinse it after the first boil, and also because we use so much mint, which is really good for the digestion.
And fennel too.
And fennel also. Oh my gosh, so we have a double whammy. So in this we have plenty of mint, fennel, parsley, celery, onion, tomato, carrot, zucchini. Am I forgetting something again? I think I got it all. Yes, and the beans. Did you see how well cooked the beans are? They're almost completely cooked, but not quite, because they're not going to take long. You can figure a good 4 tablespoons of olive oil in almost any bean dish or vegetable dish you put like this. We use a lot of olive oil.
Actually, doesn't sound like a lot.
It depends. This is and we don't use canned broth, obviously. So whatever we cook, we save some of the juice to add to the food to give it that extra flavor. And it's ready for the oven. As soon as it starts to brown on top, it gets mixed up so it can brown off. In the meantime, all your vegetables underneath are cooking in the juice, so it doesn't take long at all. Okay, so we have our, what do you call that stuff? Tzatziki, thank you. We have our tzatziki sitting and draining. And the next thing we're going to do is our souffiko, because that also has to go on the fire. Souffiko is similar to ratatouille, it's an Italian dish. But souffiko is a very, very traditional Ikarian vegetable dish, and I think it's very underrated, but it has become more well-known the last years. I'm going to tell you how it got its name, okay? And this was told to me a long time ago by an aunt of mine. So we know there's a Greek language, and we have the Ikarian dialect, right? The Ikarian dialect is Ionian. So a lot of the words that we use are directly Ionian. So there's a couple, they're working out in the garden, and you know how the old ladies always have their aprons to put their veggies in when they're out in the garden? So she was doing this. She was working outside. In the meantime, she's collecting odds and ends. She goes inside, and remember now, this time I'm talking before electricity, before petrol gas, stoves, things like this. So it was all by the fireplace. When you wanted to make your coffee, you put some pine cones, and you got your coffee going. So basically there was always some warm coals or ash in the fireplace. She takes some of the veggies inside. She chops them up very quickly, not thinly chopped, coarsely chopped big. Puts a bunch of olive oil on top, a little bit of salt, covers it up and sticks it in the hot coals. When we say in Greek, I left you some, we would say suafisa. If you say it in the Ikarian way, soufika. So her husband says to her, what about lunch? And she says to him, I left you some, soufika. So that's how it got the name soufiko. Zosto. Okay, I said it correctly. So now we're going to put this dish together. This one, you don't want to slice it too thin or too small because it's going to melt. It's more of a little bit thicker, a little bit more coarse. Because what it basically does is it slowly cooks on a medium heat, covered up in the oil, and it releases juice also. And you just want it soft, you don't want it melted. Does that make sense? Okay.
And is this a dish that could be made year-round with different vegetables?
It sure is. You can use pumpkin in the winter. It's fantastic with pumpkin, onions, and garlic. It's amazing, amazing. And this dish, you can put it over rice or with rice, on top of pasta, with some cheese, as a side dish with meat, as a cold salad dish, as a main dish. You can do anything with this. And it's so easy and so quick that when I don't know what I want to make, I'll make one of these and something very quickly, maybe omelet or a salad, and you're all set. So basically you're going to quarter it and then about that big, okay? And the zucchini the same. Have you done any cutting yet? Sure, I put zucchini. So what you're going to do with this one is the same thing. You're going to be doing it a bit coarse. Okay. Be careful of your hands, please, because these two are thicker. We're going to do them in half.
Okay.
Stovetop.
a huge zucchini.
Do you want these in half?
Jamen, det var bare... ja.
Now the thing about all these dishes that we're showing you, because I keep in touch with people when we do different cooking stuff, and the cool thing is all of this is very quick and easy to prepare. So if you have a Greek night at home or you want to do it at home, you can substitute different ingredients for what you don't have available to you. Like how we were talking about the soufiko, the zucchini, the pumpkin and such. Tzatziki, you're going to find cucumbers and yogurt all the time. That's standard. When we get to the croquettes, I'm going to tell you about that too. The beans,
diced
everybody
like that,
puts dried beans everywhere.
No.
And beans aren't a big deal. People think it's a big deal, but it's not. It really isn't. And it's a great, healthy, filling dish. And throw some veggies and some herbs in there, you have a fantastic meal. When it comes to food and eating habits here in Ikaria, we're going to eat meat, fish, vegetables, beans. I don't know anybody who has an allergy. I don't know anybody who has a glucose issue. I don't know anybody who has, some foods sit heavy on you, but doesn't do with allergies and things like this, right? But I don't know anybody who bloats up or breaks out if they eat a certain thing. For us, it's all about eating from everything and in moderation. No problem though if you only eat veggies. Well, a lot of us prefer vegetables, especially in the summer. We eat many more vegetables than we do meat. In the winter, we have dried beans, lentil soup, this kind of thing. A minimum of 2 to 3 times a week for sure. These, you understand what I'm saying? So for us, it's all about having from everything.
And grains.
In the right amount, and grains, but for every food category. We don't omit anything or consider anything bad.
Right.
Everything for us is in moderation. Bit of meat. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We were saying the other day, and you don't know that you're
Right.
eating sugar if it's
Like when you make a sauce, because people are like, oh my gosh, there's so much sauce. I said, wait a second. Nothing has been from a can. I'm a bread freak. I love our bread here. It's warm.
Yeah.
Are you ready? There's quite a bit of water coming out of those cucumbers. So we're going to leave it for just another minute or so. Soufiko is cooking. It's on a medium fire, between low and medium. You don't want it too hot. Covered. You're going to wait a few minutes, and then you're just going to do this to the pan to make sure it's not sticking. Okay. I prefer using a pan that doesn't stick. All right. So in the zucchini crust, we've got our mint, our zucchini, salt and pepper. Let me get the egg. You can use zucchini, tomato. You just have to let the tomato strain. Potato, pumpkin. Pumpkin's fantastic. Gives it that sweet flavor. Or butternut squash or acorn squash. I'm not sure. I think you call it butternut squash, the long one. You can use different kinds of cheeses. You can use almost anything you want. And this is something very quick, very tasty, and it goes great on a table, especially if you're having people over. We prefer adding baking powder to our flour. I've tried the other one a couple times, the self-raising. I don't like the way it raises, and I can't judge how much baking powder I need extra. So you're going to use, in this we have we have mint in this, salt, pepper. Have a put a little bit more parsley in. I personally like it with lots of herbs. And if you put lots of mint, this zucchini goes wonderful with mint. It's great. It's great. And we need some onion. Do we have an onion here? The egg holds it together, just like when you bake, when you need an egg in it. The cheese is a matter of choice, but the only thing is be careful what kind of cheese you use, because you don't want it to lose its texture and to get stringy. We use feta, because even when it cooks, it's soft, but it's still, you still bite into it, you know? You can use goat cheese. Yep, we use homemade goat cheese in it also. Just remember, like we use homemade goat cheese, we know it's just gonna be a little bit harder in there, a little bit stronger flavor without the saltiness, but it's very, very good. But after you've mixed it up, you're going to leave it to sit about 10 minutes. Whenever you have something that's with any flour, you let it sit and rest. And also it's going to remove a little bit of liquid, so you'll see what you need. This takes 10 minutes to mix up, 10 minutes to cook. It's very quick. You can make it ahead of time. You can use it the next day, there's nothing wrong with it. But to be honest with you, I think it's best when you make it shortly before you use it. We make this roughly 3 times a day here. We've told people you're going to wait 20 minutes for your croquettes because we're making a new mix now. To me, it's completely different. It has a much nicer texture when you do it quick, when you do it fresh. People ask me how come we don't use cutting boards. Everybody's wondering about that. I have no idea. We don't. We usually will pick something up and just cut. You know, I have no idea. You want it to be half covered in the olive oil. And when you drop it in, you want it to start to bubble immediately around, but not to go crazy. So it doesn't cook outside, raw inside, or if your fire is very low, then it's going to be too soft inside because it's going to have collected all the oil. Drop one in as a testing, and you'll see. I'm just showing you step by step. I'm going to bring the pot out so you can see it. Pork cubed, we put water in. This might be a little bit too much water.
Shoulder, or what is it?
Is it shoulder? That's a very, very good question. Pork
butt?
Maybe from the butt? We can ask Ilya, he knows that
But it
stuff.
doesn't matter.
I don't think so, because you know, we always want to have a little bit of fat on our meat.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes a nice juice, is the fat on it, and gives it also some flavor. In the States, I have a terrible time making this because I have a hard time. I get the loin that has the fat around it. So we put some water. We're going to let it cook a little bit in the water because it brings out, again, a foaminess, and it also softens it and starts to cook it. And then we dump out the water, and then we're going to put it in olive oil to finish off cooking. When that's done, we're going to put red wine on top and let it simmer for a few minutes.
So you cook it in water first?
You bring it to a boil in the water,
So you
dump
don't
it.
You don't brown it.
No, we don't brown it.
And why
We
is
brown
that?
it in the
Doesn't
olive
that-
oil
doesn't that sear
afterwards.
in the juice?
Part of the reason is because our meat, generally speaking, is tougher. Because it's local meat. Local meat is tougher than meat from the store. So it needs a little bit of extra
You
time.
need to stew it.
Yes, to stew it. But anyway, for now we're going to do it this way, okay? Otherwise you won't be able to chew it so easy.
Yes. You move it.
1 kilo. Those don't go on Facebook.
Our vinegar here is strong. It's homemade. How we make it is when our wine goes bad, we have vinegar. So sometimes I might have 500 liters of vinegar. And I'm hoping that next year the wine doesn't go to vinegar on me because I'm going to have too much. But our vinegar is strong, but very, very flavorful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some spoons, and I'm going to ask you to please give it a taste and see what you think of it. I don't know if you're going to need to start with water with the meat you have at home or not. I really don't know this. I would put a little bit of water at the bottom of the pan and start it like that. As soon as it starts to foam up, dump it. And then you're going to cover the pan with olive oil, low fire, cover it. When it's almost cooked, it's getting that nice brown color.
How much olive oil are you getting?
I cover the bottom of the pan with it, okay? If you see that the meat, you see this is the difference in the meats, I'm not sure. Sometimes the meat will make juice, so you're okay. If you see that it does not making juice, it's just absorbing it, add some more olive oil. When your meat is brown, you know what this is. When your meat has browned and it's just about cooked, then you take about a quarter, almost a water glass size of red wine, salt, pepper, oregano, dump the wine, cover it up, turn your fire down, and leave it for 5 minutes. Stir it up though too, okay? So the wine goes everywhere. Leave it for 5 minutes. The wine will get thick from the olive oil and the juice from the meat, and it's almost like a sauce. And then you can have this with pasta, you can have it on its own with the salad, you can have it with the vegetables. It's a great combo. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cook the zucchini croquettes inside. Anybody who wants to see it, tell me. Yeah. We're going to sit down and have the tzatziki, zucchini croquettes. The souffle should be just about done, and the giant beans should be almost done. Is everybody starving?
Yes.
I thought you might be. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go put this on some plates now so you can.
Zucchini Croquettes.
Wow. This is insane.
These are my favorite.